All right, welcome everybody to week 3 of the Hometown Advisor certification process. I'm kind of excited about this week. I'm excited about every week, but this week I would say we're going to start to build the perfect day, week, month, and year. Okay? Well, quarter, then the year. If you start with the basic building blocks, you can actually build a business that is more rewarding, more fun, and it's okay if it's more profitable too. There's nothing wrong with that. We're going to talk about how to do that today. We were talking off camera about why we don't do this, but we don't have time to do that because you're watching with a timeline in mind. All right, so let's talk about the slide edge again really fast, okay? The perfect day is an acronym for me, and PRF, okay? And so what I started to think about is that in the perfect day, what are the small daily actions that I could take that will compound over time if done consistently? Okay? And so if you study goals and you've read about goals, fantastic, good for you. There's, he's got the 5, the 4 here, 5 here, business areas, right? Finances, health, business, personal development, relationships. And boy, hopefully you have set goals, because those that set goals achieve more, period. It's a proven fact. Now, if you're not achieving everything that you want, that's okay. The key is to set a clear goal and have some measurable actions every single day. That's how you start to achieve it. Okay? So the perfect day for me was a way for me to keep myself oriented every day in just 3 key areas: personal, relationship, and financial. Because depending on where you are in life, you might have something in your life that requires more attention and focus. So if my health was terrible, and fortunately it's not, my personal goal could be really focused on something to do with fixing that health problem. If my health is good, right, my personal goal might be something that has to do with being even more fit or being a better person. So I just wanted to basically say there's 3 things. I want you to put your goals in 3 categories: personal, relationship, or financial. All right, so if you keep the slide edge in mind, it's the simple, repeatable thing that you know will compound. And the hard part about the slide edge, if you ever read the book, it's a fantastic book. Now, it basically says your philosophy, your attitude, your philosophy dictates your attitude. Your actions follow, and your results follow that. Now, the hard part is figuring out that there are little actions that do compound over time, because this little timeline can be very, very long. These little actions, if they're little actions, they could take literally weeks or months to start to compound. That's where it becomes a challenge for us to stay on task. Now, all right, so if it's consistent with your big why, consistent with that number one thing that you're trying to tackle personally, in your relationships, or in financial, then if it's consistent with your big why, you're more likely to stay on point, on task with these small daily activities. So now, if you're setting a personal goal, I think winners think both and losers think either or. Okay? Either or. Either or is either I'm going to hit the gym and do my workout, says the buff guy who I'm not, or I'm not doing anything, because it ain't worth it if I don't do X and Y and Z in the gym. That's either or. Both and is somebody that says, hey, geez, I'm gonna do both. I'm going to do my slide edge activity, plus if I could fit a workout in, that's like a bonus. That's something bigger and better. But I'm going to think both and, not either or. Okay? So that's the difference in really a winner's philosophy versus somebody who isn't setting themselves up to win. Because an either or often is a mask for excuses. So the slide edge really is, I'll give you an example from my personal life. Push-ups and leg lifts take me 10 minutes in the morning, 15 max, if I'm distracted and putting it off in between. Okay? Then it became, okay, well, I'm going to throw in a plank. And if you ever wanted to see something really funny, you'd watch me tremble like a little, I want to say girl, but my daughter can do it better than me. Or my wife could absolutely do it better than me. So I don't know, tremble like a little punk. But push-ups, leg lifts, and a plank then became a little bit of treadmill once in a while because there was my both and. And then it went to nothing because it's easy to not do it. We're going to talk about why. That's a true story. Okay, but I want you to, when we set these goals, I want you to think small and then think about the compound effect. Okay? That's it. Because the small things definitely add up if done consistently. And we always underestimate them because we want to tackle the biggest things. Because we want to make that big impact statement. And in reality, that's not how life works in any area of your life. It's about consistently doing the right thing over and over. That's why I won't sell a bunch of books or any books. It's because it's just not the sexiest of messages. All right, so let's think about it. So if we have this slide edge goal, it's simple, it's repeatable, it's consistent with your one thing, and it compounds when done consistently. Think about your relationship, Is there a relationship that needs the most strengthening? Only you know the answer to that. But what's a good small thing example to think about? Can't touch or look at your phone when you get home for an hour. Yeah, but. It's the first thing every real estate person thinks. Yeah, but when a deal's coming down, I got to handle that right then. Well, that's true. Then just don't go inside. So the deal is I will sit in the garage or down the street so that I can clean up what I got to clean up. So when I walk in there and I'm with them, I'm 100% with them, and I put the phone in there. But it's really easy not to do that too. A blessings book is what is in Michael's book. I got the books here for you guys today, which is great. But it's also, I read a while back, writing down why you love your significant other or why you love someone in your family every single day and what they do that makes you, love them is a very powerful way to actually make you happy. It makes you happy when you're writing it. It's crazy, the reverse effect of it all. All right, but now let's talk about financial. That's what really today is about. So the entire next part of the video, don't miss the first part. If you start to build your slide edge mentality in your personal and your relationships, you then have a foundation to tackle the financial. If you don't do that, those will come back and bite you. So we're going to create your plan. We're going to time block the execution into simple, repeatable actions, and we're going to rinse and repeat. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so here's an example. Okay, so the one thing that if done makes all other things easier or even unnecessary. Okay, it's actually a good book, interesting book by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, The One Thing. But remember, we talked about this in an earlier video. Seinfeld's write jokes every day. That was the thing. That was the key. That was the foundation. He knew that his one thing, if he just wrote jokes every single day, then he would have jokes for stand-up, jokes for his movies and books and TV show, etc. He broke it down to the one thing. And then he measured it. Okay? So if you don't measure it, you will lose. So there's my wall calendar. I've done it every which way. I've done it with a wall calendar. I've done it on your bathroom mirror. I've done it every single way you can think of. And every time I stopped, I went backwards. It's really interesting. Okay? So this year, literally, I guess my family just forgot about me because on my birthday, I didn't get my normal wall calendar with the kids on it. Okay? I don't know if they're sending me a message or what. But I actually turned 50, so I was away with my dad, and we were having fun. I don't know if it was a protest or what, but I still don't have a this year's wall calendar. So what was happening is I wasn't Xing out and trying to get a gold star every day. A gold star would be just like you were a kid. Get your personal goal, you get your relationship goal, and then you get your financial goal, and you win. So when I did an earlier training video on the Foundation for Success, I was explaining that my financial goal wasn't very clear. I'm going to give you a clear financial goal today. But track it every day. Because when you don't track it, you'll fall off the wagon, just like I did. I had to restart my little personal exercise goal just this week. Because I realized that because I wasn't tracking it, I wasn't doing it. And man, if you want some good excuses, I can give them to you. I am good at that. But everybody is. All right, so I guess it was, I don't know if I read this or heard this somewhere, but somebody basically asked a guy that was going to retire, what's the key to retirement and being happy? Being happy in retirement. Basically he said, plan your mornings and the afternoons will take care of themselves. Pretty good plan, actually. And I've watched my grandparents retire, and even my parents retire, and my wife's parents retire, and the ones that are winning, we'll say, in retirement are the ones that are really busy in the mornings, and they have a plan in the mornings because the afternoons take care of themselves. The ones that become more sedentary and less happy don't. What's the parallel here? Well, the parallel is, right now I'm going to teach you today, what are those activities that you could fill your mornings with so that the afternoons are left to serve a bunch of clients and connect with more people? If you're not a morning person, okay, that's fine. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want to. Congratulations, you're in real estate. But if you're not doing the right activities enough times, freedom is not that fun without money. So it is fun, but it's less fun. All right, so to reconnect, all right, if you want to connect with your community, what we're talking about is some daily disciplines today that's going to help you turn your life into 150 relationships like Dunbar's rule. If you have 150 meaningful relationships, good relationships, your referral volume will be high enough to have true freedom. That means you've got a steady stream of confidence. You are confident because you know you're getting referrals and you are generating the sort of income and life you want. Now, there's one secret weapon to generating this community, because remember, we'll talk about this in a second, the 150 times 150. All the 150 you know and have a relationship with, they know 150, and you got this small community of 22,500 people. What's the one thing? The most powerful thing, most powerful item that will allow you to connect with your community, connect with your relationships. You can use this item in direct mail, personal notes, email, phone, text conversations, one-on-one meetings. There's one thing that will help you connect with your community in a meaningful way that will change your business and your life forever. But I'm not going to tell you what it is right now because you got to keep watching the video. All right, so let's talk about it. Now, I looked at the definitions according to Michael Mayer. Fantastic book. I'm going to meet him one day. I got a little twist on it though. This is straight out of his book. A+ is an ambassador. They're your ambassador. They're like your unpaid sales team because they love you that much, they know you're great at your job, and they got a good sized network and they're not afraid to tell others about you. Your challenge is you got to make sure that you feel that same, you got to be that way for them, especially if they're in a straight commission world too. Okay? But even if they're not, you got to be that way for them. What's an A? They're a champion. Okay? They probably refer you one time a year. You know they're going to refer you every time they have an opportunity, but they may have a smaller network, or they're an S or a C type of personality where they just aren't wired to refer. No problem. You got potential champions. Okay, potential champions means, we learned in an earlier video, the chosen one script. You've qualified them. They've said to you, yeah, I think you're a really good person. You're really good at your job, and the first person I'd recommend that a person that's buying or selling would call would be you. Okay? But they just haven't done it yet. All right? This is the slight difference, just for clarity purposes, from what Michael teaches. Okay? I believe that I want people to be potential champions. He wants to have you work your B's into A's. But A's, in my definition, is a very hard line. They either have referred you or they haven't. Period. Okay? Don't kid yourself. A B is a good relationship. Somebody that says they would refer you, they just haven't come across a person and an opportunity to do it yet. That's a relationship you want to build. But don't confuse them with an A. They haven't referred you yet. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. Doesn't mean you don't want to invest in that relationship. It just means they haven't done it yet. Does that make sense? Hopefully. All right? C they're either unqualified, you're not sure about whether they would refer you or not. And friends and family can fall into this category. Maybe they gave you a lukewarm response to the chosen one script. Anybody ever got that? Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I know other agents, but yeah, that would be great. I'd love to stay connected with you. What did that answer mean if I gave them the chosen? It means that they probably wouldn't refer me, but if I'm looking them in the eye and I kind of want to believe that they might, and maybe they're confused, I just don't know. I put them as a C. I put a friend and a family member as a C if they've never given me a referral too. Does that mean I want to get rid of them in my database? Nope, not at all. As long as I have a healthy relationship with them. If it's an unhealthy relationship, you should not invest in unhealthy relationships because it will not improve your health. If you're related to them, it's even a trickier question then, but then that is what it is, and we're not going to solve that on this video or any other. All right, then D, I'm not going to say D is delete anymore. D used to be delete. Right? D means they're in your database. You don't know. Okay? They're not in your net worth yet. You got to cultivate them to move them up or out. And I'll tell you what, this is where you work new leads. This is where you work a geographic farm or a demographic farm. Okay, a geographic farm is how you use a transaction multiplier and you print off the extra newsletters and you meet the neighbors and you see if you can strike up some sort of conversation with them and move them into your network. That's a geographic farm. A demographic farm is something you have something in common with, a group that you have something in common with. You play basketball with them. You go to church with them. You serve at church. Whatever you do. That's a demographic farm that you have something in common with. Kids, great demographic farm. Kids' sports teams, you got something in common with them. Hopefully that makes sense. You need to be intentional about your database to grow them into your network, which means they've moved up from the D to the C, B, and A. Hopefully that makes sense. To me, it took quite a bit of effort to clarify that after reading the book. So now when you read the book, hopefully you'll view it through that lens, or maybe I've given you a leg up. That's my goal. F, see, I'm kind of old school, right? Probably already noticed that if we don't know each other personally. the grading system where you can't get an F and all that. That's terrible. It's not good for kids, okay? It's just not. So I'm going to grade my database down to F. F means, hey, I'm going to delete them. That's when I delete them. All right? So your mission in your database is pretty simple. We want to bring new people in here. We want to invest in that relationship and move them up or move them out. We want to bring people that are already in here, and we want to qualify them to become a B by moving them up or move them out. And it's an ongoing, consistent effort every single day, week, month, year. Okay. All right. So what does that mean? Let's talk about it. All right. So if we're going to really start to set a goal to have 150 good relationships, okay, solid relationships, then we need to, and by the way, does that mean I got 150 really close friends so that I can't really get together with anybody over the weekend without feeling like I got to have 150 people? No. Remember, Dunbar's deal is, hey, you fit 150 people that you know enough and you've connected with enough that if you ran into them in a social setting, he said a bar, that you could have a drink with them and know them. It's great. And you like them. So don't confuse this or make it harder than it really is. Okay, so your communication plan has got two goals. Number one, deepen your existing relationships. You want to move your A's to A pluses, you want to move your B's to A's, you want to move your C's to B's, your D's to C's or F's. It's that simple. We just talked about it. All right? Goal number two, you want to grow, refresh, cultivate, and remind your network. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Hopefully it does. It's really that simple. Okay? So you definitely want to increase the number of your C's and D's in a systematic way. People that are entering your database, entering your network, so that you can work to communicate with them and cultivate a relationship and move them up or move them out. Move them out doesn't mean they're a bad person or you're a bad person. It just means that there's no connection there. It's no big deal. Or they're connected with someone else. Okay? That's when we use leads or our geographic farm or a demographic farm. So a demographic farm was an interesting concept to me, and that's what I started to think about when I looked at the memory jogger we covered in the earlier video. A lot of the memory jogger stuff is more like a demographic farm, reminding you of people that are in similar demographic as you that you see and hang around. Opportunities for you to build, put them in your C's and D's. All right. Very good. So, what's the one thing that helps you connect with people? Okay? The one thing that really, really, really is the difference maker in every medium that you could ever use if you're going to build relationships and a community. I wish that we could interact so I wouldn't ruin the video, but we'll talk about it off camera. The one thing, it's an invitation to an event. If you're calling somebody to help them and invite them, they feel an important part. They feel like they're an important part of your community. Now, really, this one's hard to fathom, okay? So you start to really read and dissect the book and think about working by referral. If you had 150 A pluses by definition refer you at least twice a year. That's 300 referrals. What if you had 150 A's? You got, just 150 referrals a year. Okay? Is that possible? It absolutely is possible. It's unequivocally possible. Because out of a network of their 150, there's always going to be someone that's moving in a given year. The question is whether you are remembered at the time they hear about somebody moving. It's that simple. What are you willing to invest Would you put in time? Would you put in some money? Or would you rather just give Zillow your money? You can do both. But too often, we think either or. Either I invest all my money in Zillow or lead generation, or I invest it in my network. That's the loser either or. What I want you to think about today is the both and. Both and is, I want you to create a plan. I'm going to walk you through a plan today where you're going to invest time and you're going to invest money in your network first. Then you're going to invest money and effort into lead generation and cultivation of demographic farm or geographic farm to add to your database. But what has happened is the industry, because they want to sell us things, has us all upside down. Okay, so think big but execute bigger. All right? Money isn't the answer to building relationships, and it shouldn't be a barrier to getting started. Okay? Just the first thing I said in the event, I could even see some eyes dart down. Okay? And I wish I could see you on video doing that. I don't want you to think. I want you to start small. Okay? We've all heard or read about the movie night where this person will rent out a movie theater and invite everybody they know to come and bring their families. And that's a fantastic idea for an event. Don't start there. It's too expensive. Start small and build. Get creative, have some fun. It's a great way, if you're getting creative and having some fun, to build a smaller community that just kind of grows, because the power of this event is the invitation to the event, not whether they come or not. Oh, wow, that's crazy. I hope you absorb that. That's the most important thing. If you've had an event and they didn't come, most common thing I talk to agents about is they say, well, you know, I've tried that whole client appreciation event thing and nobody ever came. Oh, okay. If you worked the event in a planful way and you connected with people, number one, more people would have come more often than not. I'm just talking about my personal experience. Number two, you would get referrals whether they come or not. But the most important thing that I really want you to think about and take away, it makes that phone light as a feather. It makes the phone light as a feather. You're inviting someone to an event. So let's talk more about that a little bit. All right? So there's really three types of events that are going to change your business for good. One-on-one meetings. Remember this communication pyramid? Okay? One-on-one meetings, events and seminars, and phone calls is the influential zone. That's where you're really connecting with people. And if you're coming from a posture of service to connect, boom, that's your most impactful way to do it. Handwritten notes, that's that transitional zone where you can deliver information, you can follow up on the conversations. That's the glue that holds this whole system together. It's also the catalyst, the fuel that burns the fire hot. Okay? So one-on-one meetings, a board of advisors, or he's got a couple of different names for it. We're going to talk about that. And then appreciation events. Okay? We're going to talk in depth about board of advisors or ambassador, top ambassador plan. That's a 4 times a year deal. Your appreciation events are maybe 2 with a goal to get to 4 times a year. Hopefully, I see people taking notes, which is fantastic. The most important part of this is that I now have a plan. And I'm going to show you what to do with the plan. And when I have a plan that doesn't involve calling and asking for referrals, it's a plan that's going to do something different and better than that, the magic happens. And a community is built. All right, so one-on-one meetings, let's start there. One cool idea that that Michael has in his book is this networking stack, he calls it, okay? Once or twice a week, he has 3 networking meetings back to back to back. Always does it at his same restaurant. Calls it his home court advantage. He meets every person at the staff so they know who they are, so they know who you are when you show up. Tips them great. And the story in the book is he gets referrals even from them, which is fantastic. But he's known. 3 back-to-back 1-hour networking meetings, and it's really nice to have an ambassador, your biggest fan, unpaid sales team sandwiched in between, because they get to meet both. The person you were just done with, and then the person that's coming next. Fairly brilliant. Some of you are scared. Don't be scared. We're going to talk about exactly what to say and how to do it. All right? Most important thing is, hey, it's about them. Okay? Set a goal to get it to do. Something you could help them with. A book. Met a person yesterday. They have a fantastic network. And they're trying to build a business. And he asked me, ironically, and probably shouldn't go off script, but I'm going to do it, asked me, hey, oh, geez, how do you try and stay fit? I go, I'm just lucky because I actually fell off the wagon because I was getting ready for this speech today. Said I forgot, I kind of moved away from my normal kind of routine of exercise, but I restarted to think about the slight edge. He writes down the book. Guess what? I'm sending him a book. Great personal follow-up note. Okay? It's about them. I took away a to-do. I didn't tell him I was going to send him a book. I'm going to send him a book, though. Something that I could help him with. Pretty cool. All right? So these are the questions that are really the powerful questions that will always generate referrals if done properly. Yeah, I think you should write these down. What's your biggest challenge right now? You don't want to guess. You don't want to guess what their biggest challenge is. You don't want to assume what it is, okay? Or assume how you can help. You don't want to do any of those things. Hey, what's your biggest challenge right now? Especially if you're talking to a business person. That's my natural desire and like, but it applies to everything. Hey, what's your biggest challenge right now? So what have you tried so far? Okay? What's really funny is, what have you tried so far? Then you can not suggest any ideas that they've already tried, but you can tweak and talk about other ideas that might work. The book analogy I just gave when I was talking to these two Samoan guys about fitness, that they're ex-football players, and you could just tell, once they left football, they were struggling with that. And I talked about the slight edge. I'm going to send them a book. All right? We just talked about that, and we tweaked our ideas. So that one caught me off guard, so I didn't really say, what have you tried so far? Because this was in a different environment. If you're in your networking environment or you're in an environment, what's your biggest challenge right now? What have you tried so far? And then what are you going to do next? What's funny is they usually have the answer, and they have a plan. And they're either struggling to articulate it, and the fact that you're just conversing with them to articulate it makes you seem like you came up with the idea. It's also unbelievably empowering to remind people that they know the answer. Okay? So when you do this, what do you think the most logical response to them after you have a meaningful conversation is going to be? They're probably going to ask you how they can help you. And if they don't ask you how they can help you, fantastic. Just trust the process and be a good person and invest in that relationship, because it will come back around. If you're coming from a posture of service, you know it will come back around. All right, so how often do you do this? A's and A+s once a quarter. Set a goal. You want to have some one-on-one time with them once a quarter. One thing that the sludge in the 6 inches between my ears when reading the book and preparing this presentation was thinking, geez, could I have this same conversation with that person multiple times? Probably, because the words will be phrased differently and I'm only going to see them once a quarter. And if you're skillful about putting your notes in your CRM and staying connected and being genuine and writing a note and talking to them once a month, that's the other thing about the A, is it's going to be very natural to be a part of helping them get better all the way through. Okay? So a yearly ambassador program, that's what we used to call in the Brian Buffini world a client appreciation program. Okay? Well, a yearly ambassador program, this is, we've got a yearly ambassador program, and then the yearly ambassador program, it's not the client appreciation program. Yearly ambassador program are your A's and your A pluses. This is where you're going to just really try and double down on those relationships, and you're going to try and do something quarterly with them. Okay? So you got A pluses, A's, and even the B's that said they'd refer. Okay? You're going to look at the list of people in your database, and you're going to think about an event with these folks you want to connect deeper with to do quarterly. Okay? This isn't like a major, it could be a casual happy hour, could be a rally around a cause, volunteer together, could be a nice group dinner, could be a networking and mastermind. You won't know what sort of event will attract this group of VIPs until you look at your group of VIPs and you think about it. And you still might not know, and then you're going to make some phone calls. None of these things are bad. Okay? So if you commit to the cadence, that was the thing that really is the freedom piece. There's Michael. I was on a webinar with him. Okay? And so I'm giving you your book today. That's him. And invite, confirm, event. Follow up, invite, confirm, event, follow up. Now you have some cadence to what you're doing to cultivate your network. Okay? So really what it does is it gives you the topics to talk about and your cadence to get folks to your networking stack. I can tell you one thing, anybody in business might want to talk about and learn this book. So I'm giving you this book today for being here. If you send me a personal note, I'll give you a book too. And then it's a great way to have a conversation with people that, are in many different walks of life. But if you don't know what sort of event, then just look at your list and make some phone calls and see what people might be what sort of event people might come to. I was talking to Molly yesterday, and Molly was talking about, volunteering and volunteering at I think it was a humane society, and they weren't taking volunteers, but she was calling and talking to some of the folks that she was connecting with. Well, why not make, if that's the group that she hangs around with and she enjoys to hang around with and that's what they like to do, maybe that's one of your quarterly events. It also could be slightly different. Okay? My personal goal is to make it into a networking or a board of advisors where I'm helping their business and they're helping mine, a networking and mastermind event. But then when I started to really think about this and I look at people that refer me, not everybody would fit into that. Not everybody's wired for business like I am, so I have to rethink that. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, you got this two with the goal to get into 4 events a year, which is your appreciation event, your community event. Everybody is invited to it, okay? A through D's are invited to it. That's the magic. You're inviting them to an event, all right? That's what drives your actions, your networking, your time blocking, which we're going to talk about in a minute, all right? Start frugal. All right? And and do something where you can have an impact. So if we start with 2 and grow to 4, that's my recommendation to you. If you're doing these last 2 actions from a posture of service, the phone's never going to feel heavy again. All right? Now this is his summary, and I think it's fantastic. All right? Number 1 connection, number 1 reason to connect with your database is an invitation to an event. You should never have an event without a sponsor, okay? Does that mean you should get them to pay for everything? No, you're in it together. All right? Every sponsor provides a door prize. If you have a sponsor, somebody that you're working with that has a good sized network, what's going to happen? Your network's going to grow. Okay? Don't have an event without partnering for a nonprofit or charity. And then, of course, photos and videos. The power is that we're inviting everyone in our network to this good cause thing. Twice, maybe 4 times a year. It drives our activities if we're disciplined about it, and we can make a difference. So, before I really absorbed and understood and tried to distill it down so I could teach it, I launched back into my old referral ways and just got back into just, hey, I'm going to have a happy hour, and it'll be an appreciation event, just thanking people for the success we've been having in real estate, and come by and have a beer. It was good. I didn't really call. I kind of called. I kind of sent some stuff. I was very haphazard about it until I went through to prepare for you guys. I realized that I needed a system, and that's what I'm going to walk you through today. And what that really was, and the people that came to it, are most likely the people that are really my A pluses and my A's, that I want to have a board of advisors or an ambassador program 4 times a year, and I need to reevaluate how I'm going to connect with them. And then I needed to create an appreciation program. And so one thing we'll talk about for you guys is, and I'm going to share for everybody in our network, any event that we put together. And we're going to go for the Thanksgiving pies. I've already lined up a local business, and I'm going to explain more about that as we go. It's going to be pies for pounds. Every person that comes will enter in. There'll be door prizes, but also every person that comes enters into the raffle. They also will get a pie, and we'll donate a pound of canned goods to the local food bank. Pretty fun. I don't really care if 5 people show up. I know more than 5 will. But I'll be doing good for somebody, and I'm going to get a lot of leverage out of talking to people about it. Okay? So, this is what should drive your actions every single day. Okay? So, I don't know why I put that in there twice. So, now, there's something called the Hawthorne effect. The Hawthorne effect is it's a proven sociology experiment that was done. Basically, they tested productivity in a factory. And the way they tested productivity in a factory is they turned the lights up, and productivity went up. Then they turned the lights down, productivity went up again. What they learned was that the lights had nothing to do with it. It was that they were measuring productivity. What is measured improves. So you're giving in your network, okay? You should measure the number of phone calls. Remember that you should measure the number of times you're giving a referral to help them. All right? Your calls are to invite them to the networking stack, invite them to your ambassador meetings, and invite them to your appreciation programs. All from a posture of givings. Then you remind. How do you remind them? Personal notes and power notes. Great power note, great way to write a power note is to write down something that you admire about them or something that you enjoyed about their conversation with them. Okay? And then you're going to receive better relationships, more connections, and referrals. That's the give, remind, receive model. All right? So, how are you going to measure it? Measure the number of calls you make to your database daily. Measure the number of referrals that you give. Biggest thing. Remind. Measure the number of notes that you give. Write. Receive. You will receive referrals. We are going to change our weekly incentive deals too, and the money bag that we do in the brokerage. And it's going to revolve around this, because this will make you profitable and productive. If you want 50 referrals, what's the number one thing you got to do? Give 100. Pretty simple. Oh, Scott, is there science behind it? I didn't see any with Michael's book, but it makes a lot of sense to me. If I give 100, I got a hunch I'm going to get more than 50, honestly. It's just a hunch, though, because I really started to think about, I am wired to refer. That's been my number one thing in my database is I would call to try and connect people with service providers. And now I've got an intentional plan with it. Okay? Okay? So you want to measure your new additions as well. If you're not at 150 great relationships, don't fret. You want to build that database, build your Ds, so that you're adding new additions to it from a geographic farm, from a demographic farm, from leads. All right? And then you also measure new additions, but also people that moved. That's one thing I never really measured. And I'm all about measuring. Okay? How many people moved? Did you connect with? Right? Number of referrals received was an indicator of somebody moving in my database, but I never really looked at it like that, right? If you received the first referral, they were a B, they were likely to refer you, they said they were going to refer you, but they had never given you one, that B turns to an A, correct? That's how you measure it. But why wouldn't you measure the number of Ds that became Cs because you actually had a conversation with them and you think they might refer? Etc. That's how you measure it, guys. All right? So if you want 50 transactions, then give 100 referrals. If you had 150 A's, how many people do you need to add or cultivate into your database to start moving them up? All right? If you commit to your quarterly ambassador program, you commit to your appreciation plan, and then you just measure it and report on it weekly. You got to measure it daily, but report on it weekly. See, if you measure this daily and report on it weekly, you'll only fall off the wagon for 1 week. That's the power. Hey, that's the reason why I came up with the money bag. In our local brokerage, we have a money bag to reward activities. Because if you go through and you track it and you report it every week, the vision is that you would only lose a week. You will never wake up and wonder when your next commission check's coming in because you don't have any clients you're working with. All right. Plan your mornings so that the rest of your day will take care of itself. So in The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, fantastic book, okay? He said he's cold, hard, assassin, sales guy. Love him. All right? He says you need 4 hours of cold calling and prospecting every day in every industry, and I don't care what industry you're in. How's that sound? Doesn't sound very fun. Okay? All right? But what about 4 hours building your net worth or your network? Okay? It is your one thing. It is the one thing that's going to make you profitable and sustainable in the face of all this talk of change in real estate. Okay? The hard part about building your network is that it's something that is it's a renewable resource. Your network will give you referrals if you give to your network, but you're never done. Because when you're done, your network is shrinking. When you're done giving to your network is shrinking and you just don't know it yet. Okay? So, time blocks, let's talk about it. All right? So, boy, oh boy, multitasking is a complete and total myth. We've talked about that. You should block time for the metrics that you're measuring. All right? You need to control email and other distractions. Okay? I did love Chad Holmes's, he calls it pig-headed discipline and determination. If you have pig-headed discipline and determination to build your business so that you are automatically receiving referrals and you're having a happy and productive life because you've built a community, then you need to really start your day with the 6 things you got to get done. You can't really get done more than 6 in general. All right? And if it's a bigger project, then take one bite at a time. Think both and. I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to make it, and I'm going to finish it later. Both work on it now, but I'm not going to think either or, like I'm not going to work on it at all today because I don't have enough time to finish it. Okay? Now, here's a sample. Why is this a sample? Well, because this part's really hard. Okay? My day's half over by 8. Not half, but I start way earlier than 8. But I'm just trying to be realistic. But the first thing I want you to take away from is I don't care about when you start. I really don't. Okay? It's how you finish your life and what your business looks like. Okay? But maybe you got to delete junk. Email, it's exploding with junk. But it also explodes with shiny objects that take you off of your one thing and your task. So the first step in email for me and every morning is to delete the junk. Touch it once if I can make a quick response. And then if it's a required dollar-making task that needs to serve a client and needs more attention, I prioritize it for my later time block in the day. It might go on my PDD 6 list. Sounds really easy, but I'm telling you, the first thing I do is, I actually am thankful for Gmail. I prefer to check my email on my computer because Gmail puts them in those categories now, and I can just delete 2 categories. All right, 8:30 to 9:30. First and 10 is what Michael calls them. To take on my Focus 15. Okay? You're going to have at least 10 phone calls the first thing you do when you get to the office to move something forward. Move a transaction or a prospect forward. If you don't have 10 prospects to follow up with, 10 transactions you're working on, then work on 10 relationships then. All right? Look at your Focus 15. Look at each person in your Focus 15. And think about how to serve them. Think about what you could send to them, how you could connect with them, how you could help them solve whatever problem is holding them back from buying or selling a home. This is all about working on the nearer term prospects or the now business, first and 10, or Focus 15. 9:30 to 10:30, you probably need a buffer. Might need a cup of coffee, might need whatever. It's buffer. Okay? Move around, stop, put the phone down, congratulate yourself on being productive for that hour because you didn't look at email, you didn't answer your phone, you focused on the task at hand exclusively for an hour. That is really hard nowadays because these silly devices that used to be used to talk to people now provide the ultimate distraction. It is hard to focus for an hour, would you guys agree? okay? So if you need to break it into half-hour increments, or you need to slow it down or whatever, just trust that your focus is like a muscle, and every time you use it, it will strengthen and get better. All right? Then 10:30 to 11:30, hour of power. All right? Well, you know, in the book, Michael says to call, make it Tuesdays and Thursdays from like 1 to 2, or excuse me, 1 to 3. I don't think it's enough. No offense. I just think that if you set yourself up, it's too easy to skip it. See, it probably is enough if it were done diligently and routinely. But what I'm trying to set up for me is a reminder every day to call and invite and fill up my networking stack. Right? Great. First calls you got to be making out of your hour of power, trying to get some people, set up some coffee meetings every single week with the people that you're going to meet with once a quarter. Right? Or invite them to your next appreciation event. All right? And then you're going to follow up with notes. Could you compress this to 1 hour? Yeah, you probably could. Do whatever you want. You're straight commission. All right? Power notes to every person that you talk to. Should be 30 minutes. Why? Because you're not writing a book, guys. All right? So if you look at this, I mapped this out, and really that's only 2.5 hours on your network every day, right? Because this Focus 15 and First and 10 is not working on your network. It's working on your current business. This buffer, you're handling urgent issues. You're getting after big tasks, or you might be calling leads. Okay? You're not working on your network. Okay? So really, you could argue that it's only really 1.5 hours on your network, but I'm going to give you some credit and say, okay, in your First and 10, you're going to be cultivating your network. How do you know if it's enough? You measure how many referrals you're getting. That's all. And how you doing towards your goal. It's really that simple. All right. So next, we're going to talk about how to put some automation behind it. So the software that we have is designed to help you be relevant and be remembered in systematic and automatic ways. Okay? That's to layer in extra visibility into your network, especially the database that we talked about, the Ds, but also even the others. Okay, and so that's what we're going to talk about on the next video. Thanks for watching.